Scott Leysath, the Sporting Chef. Brought to you by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
You know, I really like a blood rare, blackened on the outside, blue on the inside deer steak. This right here is not the fast and hot medium rare piece of meat, but it's absolutely one of my favorite pieces of meat. It's the lower part of the leg. You've got the flavor of the bone, the marrow. I'm gonna brown it, then I'm gonna braise it. It's gonna be cooked slowly. So now that my knife is sharp, I'm gonna put some vegetables in here with the braise. Once I brown the shank, and it's really important that you brown the outside, first I'm gonna flour it, season it with High Mountain venison rub, then I'll put it in with some wine, with some stock, with some fresh rosemary. But in the meantime, see how that knife just glides through those carrots? If you don't have celery, carrot, onion, throw whatever vegetables you have in there. All rough chop. This is going to be flavor. I've got some garlic that's going to go in here too. Venison rub, High Mountain venison rub, and flour. And what this is going to do is going to give it flavor, and it's also going to brown the outside of these shanks. I've got olive oil in the pan. Let me throw some butter in there too. Olive oil and butter in my Camp Chef cast iron skillet. In goes the shanks. The butter is going to give it a little bit more color. It'll give it more flavor. The olive oil will keep it from burning quite so readily. And I'm just going to keep this browning, but I got to tidy up here and show you how to make pasta. Working on browning the shanks. If you get them a little bit burnt, I don't have a problem with that either. It gives it a little bit more color, gives it taste. I have a lightly floured surface. I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. This is the easy one. I'm going to make a little well in the center. I'm going to put a little salt in there with my flour. This is a Hawaiian pink salt. A couple of eggs into the center. And basically, I'll break these yolks up. You just want to work the flour into the center, eventually forming a dough ball. Switch to a scraper. See these little beads that are starting to get in there? That means we're getting closer. I'm gonna add just a little bit of water. So if the dough is sticky, like this, you wanna just add a little bit more flour until it's not sticky anymore. No longer sticky, although I need to clean up my hands a little bit. Cover it up with a damp towel and just let it sit for about 15 minutes to a half hour. I've got some venison shanks over here. They've been browned. I'm gonna dump some celery, carrot, onion, and some just whole garlic right on top of that. I'm gonna throw in a couple of rosemary sprigs. I'm gonna get that brown, but I'm also gonna use my new Weston Roma juicer. What I have here are some yellow tomatoes, some red heirloom tomatoes. It's a zebra tomato. And then these little guys. So into the juicer it goes. And what's cool about this strainer and juicer is that it separates all the funk from the good stuff. If you'd like to add a little tomato paste to this tomato puree, this fresh tomato puree that I made with the Weston strainer, it'll give it a richer flavor. It'll help thicken it. This is going to reduce enough here with the vegetables and the wine reduction that I'm about to add. I've got my tomato puree over here. That's going to go into my braising liquid over here eventually, and it's all going to cook down and be very beautifully tender. Now that pasta that I made early in the show, the pasta dough, I've got my Weston Roma pasta maker, and I'm making a little fettuccine noodles here. Fresh, homemade pasta. You could add some black pepper to this. You could put a little spinach in it. Very simple. 4 ingredients in here. And then I have to let this dry. Pasta is going into this water. The water has a little salt in it, and it's not a rolling boil. It's just a very mild simmer. Let me check my shanks and vegetables over here. Color looks good. I have some already done because this process actually takes about 2 to 3 to 4 hours to get tender. So I'm going to add some wine. Normally, what I drink is the Michael David wine. This Earthquake, the Earthquake cab is great with this with the shanks. This is what I call mother-in-law wine. This is, let's say, an unfinished bottle or the cheaper wine. That's going to go right on top, and this is all going to reduce. I may have to add a little bit more later. I also have some beef broth. You want to just make sure that there's enough liquid to go up about 1 inch under the shanks. Cover it up. You could do this either in the oven or on top of the grill, and you want to go low temp from here. Low temp, it's going to take a long time. The meat's going to fall right off the bone. The pasta is going to be done in just a couple minutes. I drained my pasta. I hit it with a little bit of olive oil to keep it from sticking together. Over here, I have the shanks. Now, what happened during the break is I swapped it out with shanks that I had started earlier, and I want you to see how this is starting to fall right off the bone. This is when I'm going to add my tomato puree. That's going to add a little bit more richness to the sauce, give it a whole different element. And of course, this will be great on top of the pasta with some Parmesan cheese. Let me cover that back up. I'm going to leave the lid cracked open because I want the liquid to evaporate and the sauce to thicken. I have my pasta, my homemade pasta. I have to be careful because this venison shank is falling apart. Let me get a little sauce on it, a little Parmesan cheese, a little fresh parsley. You know this looks really good. It's fall off the bone tender. I implore you not to throw these shanks away or give them to the dog. They're so really delicious. The meat just flakes off the bone. It's better than any pot roast or any beef shank you've ever had.